Hello. How are you? Hi. Go ahead and put your name in the chat box so I know who's on. Thanks, Miss Olivia, for sending out the remind. Yep. Put your name in the chat box so I can see who's on right now. We're going to get started in about 2 more minutes. Thank you. Hi, guys. We're going to start in just a couple of seconds because we have a number of people on right now. I hope everybody's having a good day. Miss Olivia is monitoring our live chat, so go ahead and type your name in so she can see who's on with us right now during our Friday live. Thanks for the thumbs up. Live All right. Friday night. Here we go. So today we're talking about the 50th celebration of Earth Day. This Wednesday, April the 22nd, was the 50th annual Earth Day. Earth Day was first celebrated April 22nd, 1970 in the United States. It was founded by, make sure I get his name right, Gaylord Nelson. And Gaylord Nelson was a senator from the state of Wisconsin. You know how I like to use these maps. So if you look, the blue label shows the state of Wisconsin, and the red label shows Virginia, where we're located. So he was northwest of us in the state of Wisconsin. And the first time there was an Earth Day, it was really more of a demonstration. Millions of people joined all over the United States, and they wanted to get the word out. They wanted to demonstrate against the issues, the problems they saw with environmental issues, pollution, oil in the oceans, and animals, wildlife being threatened and losing their habitats. So the very first Earth Day was more of a demonstration and marches and people getting the word out that we needed to take care of our environment. One of the positive things that happened during that time was that same year, the Environmental Protection Agency was created with the federal government. And what the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, does is it helps to enforce the rules that we make for to protect our environment, to make sure our waters are clean and our land and air is clean and safe for humans. So that they've enacted a lot of different laws and regulations to make the environment for us a better a better environment. So it was very important. So that was a positive when people coming together. Now, this is the 50th anniversary, and over the past 50 years, it's not only celebrated in the United States of America, it's celebrated all over the world. Over 100 nations celebrate Earth Day, and they celebrate by planting trees, by cleaning up trash, pollutants that are in the oceans, rivers, streams, creeks, lakes. They have events so they can get the word out about different ways that people can help the environment, protect the wildlife. And now, in the past couple of years, it's been over 1 billion with a B, 1 billion people celebrating Earth Day, as opposed to the first couple million that celebrated here just in the United States of America. So what we're going to talk about today is one of the things that was an issue back in 1970. They wanted to raise awareness about the damage that oil leaks in the ocean caused. So what we're going to do is a little science experiment. We're going to start by making our ocean. So I'm going to take the water, I'm going to pour some water in here. This is our ocean. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to take our boat. We're going to pretend, I made this out of aluminum foil. We're going to pretend that this is an oil tanker. So we're going to take the oil tanker, we're going to put it on our ocean for right now. But our oil tanker needs some oil in it that it's transporting from one place to the other. We're going to use some vegetable oil. And to make it look more like the oil that you would see in a tanker, because vegetable oil, it's yellow, and the other oil is brown. We're going to use some cocoa powder and turn it into crude oil. So I'm going to scoop in some of that. I scooped in some of the cocoa powder to turn it into, so it looks more like, there you go, looks more like crude oil. So let's take our oil that we mixed up, and we're going to put it, there you go, we're going to put it in our oil tanker. You can't really see it. If I turn it, I'll spill it. So it's in there. So our oil tanker is just floating along, and then there's a big storm. Something happens. It capsizes, and it spills oil all over the ocean. What happens with this oil is that it not only harms the water, it harms the water, and makes it dirty and covered in oil, but it's also very harmful to animals, especially birds. One interesting thing about birds is that it affects the feathers on the birds. You know, all birds have feathers, and I want to talk to you a little bit about birds and feathers, because I had a question about it. You know, why do they need feathers? So I looked at Fly Guy, Why Fly Guy, a big question answer book by Ted Arnold, to find out the answer about why birds have feathers. What do they need them for? Or why do they need feathers? So here you go. Why do birds have feathers? Different birds have feathers for different reasons. The reason changes from bird to bird. Some birds' feathers help them eat, hear, swim, fly, stay clean, stay dry, build nests, or hide from other animals. So there's several reasons why birds have feathers. All birds have feathers to help them stay warm. Feathers trap air close to the bird's body. A bird fluffs its feathers so the feathers trap more air and keep the bird warmer. So that's very important. They use their feathers to keep them warm. Feathers also help birds fly. Flight feathers have a special shape. One half is wide and the other is narrow, like the wing of an airplane. This shape helps create lift, which is the force that helps the bird in the air. And dinosaurs were related to birds. Even some of them had feathers, like a velociraptor. So what happens is a bird flies down and wants to find some fish to eat because it's hungry. So it flies down, it settles on the water, and then the feathers gets caught up in the oil that's in the ocean. Well, once that happens, if you notice, oil is really sticky and the feathers stick together. So they're all clumped together. And as we learned, the birds need to flap their wings in order to use air as a cushion to kind of warm them up so they don't stay cold. And when they get covered in oil like this or gas, what happens is they're not able to do that. They're not able to stay warm. So they get very cold. And we don't want that to happen to the birds. So that was one of the issues that they had when they originally started with having Earth Day. They wanted to have some regulations. They wanted to make sure that somebody was going to clean up. Accidents do happen, but somebody was going to clean up the oil in the ocean so animals didn't get covered in that oil. But they also thought about people thought about the animals. Scientists thought about animals. What are we going to do with these birds who have oil on their feathers? Because now they can't fly and they can't keep themselves warm. So what they did was they looked at different ways of getting the oil off. And they tried with just using things to wipe the oil off, and that didn't help. It got some of it off, but if you look at it, it's still pretty shiny. It still has the actual oil sheen on it. They tried different ways of scooping the oil out of the seas, but they still had to figure out how they were going to get the oil off the animals. And the scientists came up with a great idea. They used different types of chemicals, different types of safe chemicals, safe methods on animals to see if it would work, if they could get them clean, like keep it safe for them, and something that was gentle that wouldn't harm the feathers. And one thing they found out was, we're going to show you, if they used some water and they added some dish soap, and really there is a brand name that they used, and they mixed it together. So we have our dish soap and our water, and we're mixing it together. And then they put the animals the birds in there, and not just birds, they tried with other animals too. And they found out if they cleaned in the water, with the dish soap, I think I have an echo, sorry. With the dish soap, that it really cleaned and took all of you can see that the oil is in here. Our crude oil is in here. But you look at it, it's wet, but it's clean. So now they've been using this to help clean animals that get caught up in the oil. But we've tried to improve it so we don't have the oil spills that we had way back in the 70s. So a couple things we want to talk about with Earth Day. We still have a long way to go. There's still, things with our planet that we need to improve on. We need to make sure that we are reducing, recycling, and reusing. Reusing, buying things at a thrift store, or maybe something you need at a yard sale. There's also reusing an item in different ways. Like say you use a jar for one reason, maybe you can use a jar for something else. Maybe you use a jar that you had for spaghetti sauce, but then you clean the jar and you can keep change in it for something special to save money. And then the other thing is to reduce, which is when you brush your teeth, making sure that you put the water on, the toothpaste on. Toothpaste on, wet your brush, turn your water off, brush your teeth, turn the water back on when you need to rinse your toothbrush out and spit. And that saves you some water and saving energy. Like right now, I have a lot of lights on so that you can see me. But when I'm done with this YouTube live session, I'm going to turn the lights off to save energy. And I also make sure that I use light bulbs that are more efficient than the ones that I used years ago. Some positive things that have happened since we've had the pandemic. I know you hear about negative in the news, but now some positive things are that scientists have noticed that the air is cleaner in areas and countries around the world where the air wasn't as clean before. They've noticed cleaner air. One place that I know that I've seen on the news is India. They've shown that you can see mountains that you couldn't see before, that you can see now because it's been so much cleaner, which is fantastic. And that also, if you watch, and you can see these on newscasts or on YouTube videos, that I've been seeing that in Europe, there are animals like goats and sheep that are coming down from the hills and the mountains into the streets. They're roaming. They have more areas to roam. There's been penguins that they've seen in South Africa. There are lots of animals that they've seen all around that have more space to roam. They're not just in the small areas that they used to be because there were so many people and cars. Now, because everyone's off the road, they have more room to roam. So that's kind of an interesting fact about the positive that has occurred with the pandemic, because we hear about all the negative, but the positive, especially with the air being cleaner now that we're breathing, that's fantastic. So one other thing I wanted to talk about real quick is that I want you to take this time this week in celebration of Earth Day. I should also say it used to be Earth just a day, but lots of countries now and lots of places around the world celebrate the whole week. Actually, Earth Day should be every day. And you should think about what are ways that we can, that I personally, think of yourself, what can I personally do to help the environment? And I was thinking about it this week and I thought, well, I should try not to use so much packaging, so much plastic, because one interesting thing about plastic is that it takes hundreds of years to break down. It doesn't just, when you take it and you throw it away and they send it to a landfill, it doesn't just disappear. It takes over 400 years for plastic bottles to break down, almost 500 years for them to break down. So the plastic that was around here when your grandparents were younger is still around. Most of the plastic that has been here on this earth is still just the same plastic, the same shape as it was when someone threw it away. So I thought to myself, what's a way that I can try to make this a better place, do my part for the environment? And I thought about with packaging. So the other day, I had some quesadillas, and I was looking at what I had done. So with the quesadillas, I had bought tortillas, and this package only had it has 8 tortillas in it. And I had bought a jar of salsa, and I had bought cheese that's already shredded up. And I thought a simple thing that I can do next time to save with packaging is I could make my own tortillas, because I have flour and shortening and all of the things you need to make tortillas and salt. So next time that I have quesadillas, I'm going to make my own tortillas so that I'm not using up plastic bags just to hold tortillas in it. And instead of using salsa that I buy, I'm going to use the vegetables that I have at home, tomatoes, onions, peppers, jalapenos, and make my own pico de gallo to go on instead of using up the jar. And also for cheese, instead of buying cheese that's already shredded up into little pieces in a bag, I'm going to buy a big thing of cheese and shred it myself so that I can save the packaging, use one package instead of multiple packages. So that's what I'm going to do. So I just want you to think about, what can you do for the environment? Because as we said, every day is Earth Day, and we all have to do our part. So I hope you enjoyed our little talk today, and our talk about oil spills and how it affects birds and the feathers, and how scientists, we were talking about how important, that scientists are important, and that they have figured out a way to help birds who are upset by that are covered with oil. So I'm going to take a second. I'm going to flip the phone so Miss Olivia can say goodbye to you too, because she's always on with me. All right, Miss Olivia.
I'm always here. Hello, babies. I'm so excited to see you, sort of, for you to see me. I think Melissa did an incredible job. I learned so much. This was really fun. We will have new YouTube videos for you, again, starting next week, so you can get your read on. And my shout-outs this week are for Diego and Amaryllis and Hyro, who are so excited about their reading groups that they showed up a whole day early.
All right. Bye, guys. We'll see you next time.